Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares. Just kidding. This is BroncoJuggalo, and today we are going to be discussing my first Wild Eye review, The Control Group. I am very excited to do this review. I've been looking forward to doing this for quite a while, and I picked a pretty good film, I think, to start with. I chose this film because it has Brad Dourif in it. I did not know that when they sent it to me. I thought it would be really cool to do this one first, and I think I was right. Anyways, let's get started. This movie was directed by Peter Hurd. It stars, as I previously stated, Brad Dourif. It also stars, and I'm going to have to look because I'm going to get the name wrong if I don't. I'm probably going to get it wrong anyways. Ross Destige as Jack. It stars Jenna as Vanessa. The story for Control Group is that 5 college students have been drugged, kidnapped, and they wake up in an abandoned asylum. As they are trying to figure out what is going on, they come to find out that they are being used as test subjects for a government agency that's testing out an interrogation drug. As they try to fight off their captors, they come to find out that the asylum is actually haunted by a supernatural force that is out for a lot more than just some testing. A couple cool facts about this film is this film was made for $1 million. Another cool fact about this film, and it's because of Brad Dourif's involvement, is if you look closely at the cover, you might not have been able to tell. I'm going to try and put a picture up as well. But if you look closely at the cover, you can plainly see that this girl is holding a doll. The doll happens to be wearing Chucky overalls, good guy overalls. It's just a little Easter egg, and some people think a thank you to Brad Dourif for his involvement in the film. Jumping right into pros and cons, guys, I gotta be honest. The first 20 minutes of this film, I really wasn't into it. I'm going to start with my cons real quick. The first 20 minutes, I wasn't really digging it. There was a backstory given for the characters that was kind of convoluted, and it seemed to be very poorly put together. I didn't really enjoy that. I thought that it left us to try and figure out a lot of the animosity that was going on between them. And that's something else, was the animosity was completely unexplained for the most part. In the first 20 minutes, when we're getting that part of the film out of the way, I really didn't like that. And that right there contains 3 of my cons. The first 20 minutes, very convoluted, poorly constructed backstories, and unexplained animosity that you're trying to figure out as a viewer of what's going on between these characters. Not what's going on that's happening to them, that's pretty plain, but what's going on between them. You don't really understand what's happening and why it's happening. I will say this, though, it definitely picks up, and this film takes a turn, a nice turn, a turn for the better. My final con is some of the CGI effects that were used, especially when they were trying to convey electricity or the surge of power. It's a very obvious, matted over electric form that I really felt with their budget that they had, they should have been able to do just a little bit better on that. But I think I know why they did. They wanted to be able to give a lot of gore effects in this film, and they put a lot of effort into those gore effects and probably a good bit of the budget. And for that, I'm grateful. So with that being said, I'm going to segue that right into my first pro. And my first pro is the gore and makeup effects of this film. It is so good looking. I love it. There's a scene where a guy is getting his face clawed off by another guy. And you can see the fingers like inside the skin, and it looks really good. And he's ripping through it, and it looks really awesome. Another big positive for me is the kills in this film. And the funny part about them is they don't stay kills. And here's why. In the story, as the characters that are killed die, they actually come back to life. And they come back in almost a... To me, it's got kind of an Evil Dead feel. Like, it is them, but it's also like an evil version of them. And it's also kind of a zombie-ish version of them, all rolled into one. And it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I've caught myself chuckling quite a few times at things that may not have been intentionally funny, but they were funny because it really did give me like this Evil Dead thought to it. I was really reminded of the Evil Dead more than once. So yeah, I like that. I like that kind of Evil Dead throwback. I also really, as I said, I really enjoyed the kills. Some very cool, inventive kills in this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. There's one in particular I'm going to talk about. In fact, it's my favorite kill. I'm just going to give it to you now. My favorite kill in this, there's a character named Jamie, and she's kind of a... I don't want to use the word flaky. That's not the word I'm looking for. That's the word I'm looking for. Flighty, kind of, la la la, head in the clouds kind of girl, always dancing around and playing, not really paying attention to the real stuff going on around her. She also thinks that she's like a psychic, and she thinks that, she can feel the vibes of the ghosts, and turns out she might have been right, but the one she thought they were friendly and they weren't. But, well, there was one friendly ghost apparition, figment of his imagination, who knows. Anyways, but when she dies, when the character Jamie dies, a bolt of electricity pretty much hits her, and her eyes literally pop out, and then blood starts coming down the empty sockets, and then smoke starts coming out of the eye holes. And I thought that was really cool, really amazing. And then when she comes back to life as like a zombie creature, it looks really good too. I really like when Grant comes back to life. Sorry, I forgot to tell you, there are spoilers in this. The character Grant dies. He's one of our main characters. He dies kind of walking into a saw-ass trap. There's a bunch of barbed wire, and he just literally walks right into it until it chokes him off and kills him. But he comes back to life, and he actually has like the scars all over him, and he has pieces of the barbed wire sticking out of his body. And that almost in a way reminded me of the Cenobites. So I found there were actually quite a few like throwbacks. And I'm not sure if they were intentional or not. It could have just been something that, I related to it. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I really enjoyed thinking, oh, that reminds me of that, or oh, that reminds me of that. That's kind of cool. I don't know if they did it on purpose, or if it's just, coincidence. But for me, it was enjoyable and it was fun. I really like the cinematography in this film. Yes, this is a lower budget film. I'm not putting these movies in my B-movie segment because I wanted to do a Wild Eye segment of its own. Yes, a lot of these are B-movies, but I just wanted to keep them separate from my other B-movie segment. But that being said, for a lower budget movie, the cinematography in this I thought was really good. It was very well lit, creatively lit. Different parts of the asylum had different color lighting schemes, like kind of a blood red, and then a blue, and then a green. And it kind of helped lend to the trippiness of the movie. The characters were drugged, and they were under the influence of drugs. So they were hallucinating a lot. And you didn't know sometimes if what they were seeing was real or hallucination. They didn't know until it started to hurt. You know what I'm saying? And so the way it was lit and the way it looked and the cinematography and the look of the film, I thought was really excellent. It really lent itself to the mood. I do have to say, I really didn't get into, I'm going to say it wrong again, Ross Distich? I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. Unless I hear it, maybe somebody told me I could pronounce it, but I really didn't get into his performance. He plays our main character, and I just really didn't get it. He really felt very one-dimensional to me, and I'm not trying to say that to bash the guy, because I've never seen anything else with him in it that I know of. But the reason I'm saying that is there are a few actors in this who I really did like. Number one, of course, being Brad Dourif. I mean, what else can you say about Brad Dourif? The guy is a legend. But a lot of people don't know about a lot of his roles where he's not just using his voice. Brad Dourif was in an episode of Star Trek Voyager. Actually, he was in a couple episodes of Star Trek Voyager. And I thought he did really well in those episodes. I really felt his emotions and his lack thereof emotions. You'd have to go back and watch that to find out what I'm talking about. But I've always felt Brad Dourif is an actor with tremendous range. And he shows that range in this film. You can tell that he knows that it's a smaller budget film and he's not going to win any, awards for it or anything like that. So you can tell he's kind of having fun with it. Especially towards the end of the film when he gets possessed by the main ghost, or the patient as he's called in the film. There's just something deliciously evil about him and his attitude and his demeanor. And you could tell he was just having a blast doing this small, low-budget film that, he didn't have to worry about it making $10 million at the box office or $100 million or whatever. He was just having fun, and you can really tell. The other actor I want to give some big props to is Monique Candelaria, who is from right here in New Mexico, from Albuquerque. And yes, ma'am, I too live here in New Mexico. So I thought that was kind of cool when I found that out. But she plays the character Heather. I liked her performance throughout the entire film. And she's very beautiful too, so, that didn't hurt. Another person I thought did a very good job was the character Vanessa, played by Jenna. I thought she did a really good job. I was very impressed with her. At first, I didn't like her. At first, I was like, okay, this chick's kind of one-dimensional, playing a bitch. But then you start to realize that this is a character who really has some insecurities, and I think Jenna did a good job portraying them. Brad Dourif's character, Dr. Broward, you could tell that he was evil in the whole thing. There's times where he comes across like he's trying to be the good guy, but you can tell that he's not. But you can also tell that he is not the most evil thing in the film. And later on, when the two merge, it's even more ramped up. There is a lot of good gore in this film. There's a scene where one guy is torturing the other and he's trying to get answers. And the guy that he's torturing is actually one of the... I'm just going to call them Deadites, even though they're not. I'm just, just saying that. Just my own way of putting things. But he's in a tub and he's tied up and he's getting his fingers cut off and his arms cut off. And finally the guy saws right through his head and cuts his head off. It looked so good. It really did look really good, really amazing. I really enjoyed all of that. I'm happy with this movie, guys. I really enjoyed this movie. To me, this movie had a very 1990s feel, and I enjoyed that for some reason. The 1990s is not the late 1990s is not my favorite time in horror. I will say that. There's a lot of stuff that came out that I liked. There's a lot of stuff that came out that I didn't like. The movie I just watched last night, even though technically it's a 2001 or 3 film, Valentine, that one had a very, screamish late 90s kind of feel to it. And I didn't like it. I thought Valentine was crap. I'm sorry, that movie's stupid. Anyways, but this reminded me of the good films. It did remind me a little bit of the Scream films. And it wasn't really a slasher. It just had this kind of 1990s feel to it that I kind of enjoyed. And I liked that. I liked this movie overall. It was a good film. Like I said, the first 20 minutes, a little hard. But once you get through that, and the pace starts to quicken, basically it starts to quicken with Grant's death. Once Grant dies, things start to pick up, and the movie becomes really good. So, like I said, guys, this is a Wild Eye releasing. My first Wild Eye review. Go out and check out the Control Group. And this is BroncoJuggalo saying, peace.
These bitches got me fucked up. Put a hole in your chest, the size of fucking dump truck.